Hi, here is Eric from The Beauty of Da Nang, and in this video I will tell you everything you need to know to do a cheap and successful visa run from Da Nang.
The first and in most cases probably the best solution is the visa van. The visa van drives from Da Nang, An Thuong 32 to the Lao-Bao border, crossing to Laos. The departure is in the morning at 6:30 and in the evening at 6 you arrive back in Da Nang with your new visa. The van drives about 2 to 4 times per month, depending on the demand. And you can arrange the schedule on their Facebook page. Just search for Da Nang Visa Van. The price for the visa van is 1 million Vietnamese dong. And keep in mind, when you go to Laos, in most cases you will need a visa. It depends, of course, on your nationality. And the price for the visa also depends on the nationality. It's between $30 and $42. The link with all the prices for the Laos visa and what you need for it and everything you need to keep in mind is in the video description. There's one problem with the visa van, or one thing you need to keep in mind. To go back to Vietnam, you need the approval letter. And the approval letter is usually only for air travel when you arrive at an airport. So for example, Vietnam visa says Vietnam visa on arrival is just applicable for air travel. It means there is no on-arrival visa for overland border crossing. So you can't get the approval letter that you need for the visa van online. Online you will only get the air travel approval letters. However, if you talk with the visa van on their Facebook page, they will provide an agent where you can get the needed approval letter for the border crossing on land. The approval letter will cost in this case about $29, and on the border you will pay a $25 stamp fee. So all costs together is $134, that's 122 euro, and this is probably the cheapest solution. Of course, you can arrange the whole drive on your own. You can drive with motorbike or with public bus, but then you're on your own with all the arrangements. Here you can see the departure at An Thuong 32 in Da Nang. And this is the 255 kilometers drive from Da Nang to the Lao-Bao border, crossing Hue on the way. And the business card of the visa van with additional information. Let's look at the advantages and disadvantages. The biggest advantage, of course, is that in one day everything is solved. You just need to invest 12 hours, but then you can stay 3 more months in Da Nang. It's the cheapest solution. And you get to know other expats who are in the same situation as you are, so they live in Da Nang and they want to stay in Da Nang. The disadvantage is that you have to drive 10 hours on the highway, and this can be quite boring. And you need to organize the Laos visa on arrival. You need the photos, you need the additional US dollars, and you need to take care of it. And the unofficial or uncommon land crossing approval letter that you can't get online, and you have to find the agent in Da Nang who's able to give you this land crossing approval letter. The second solution are flights. To find the best return flight, we use again Google Flights that I cover already in another video about the cheap flights to Da Nang. So round trip, departure in Da Nang. Now you need to find a destination. And let's say you want to avoid stopovers and you want to have a direct flight. Then go to this homepage on Wikipedia and you find a list of all direct flights departing from Da Nang. For example, you can go to Kuala Lumpur with AirAsia directly, or to Busan with Air Busan, and so on, directly to Sanya, directly to Hong Kong. So you have a lot of different destinations. Type it in here, for example, let's say we go to Bangkok. Now you need to find the best date. Let's say your Vietnamese visa expires on the 15th September and you want to stay in Thailand for the whole 30 days, because most countries can stay in Thailand for 30 days without a visa. So you need to find out when you have to come back. We search on Wolfram Alpha for the 15th September plus 29 days. And Wolfram Alpha tells us when we have to come back. So we have to come back on the 14th October. For departure date, we search for the 15th September. There it is. And now the trick is we click on flexible dates and we see this really awesome price matrix. On top, we have all departure dates, and on the right side, we have all return dates. And in the middle, we have the price matrix that tells us when we have the best combination of departure and return date with the best price. So on top, we have now the 15th September when we fly to Bangkok, and Wolfram Alpha told us we have to come back on the 14th October. So let's go down to the 14th October. And we see on the 14th October we have already the best price with $119. So we don't need to change anything here. To find out where you can stay without a visa, go to this page on Wikipedia and search for visa requirements for, and then type in your citizenships. For example, I'm German. So I search for visa requirements for German citizens. And here I see a map. I can go to all green countries. And here is also a list. For example, let's say Philippines. And I can stay here 30 days without the visa. Let's say Hong Kong. Visa not required for even 3 months, and so on. This is also a very helpful tool to find the best destination. I checked already the prices for all direct flights and other popular places, and this is the list that I came up with the cheapest prices. And you see Kuala Lumpur is the best place to do a visa run because you pay for the return ticket only $100. Bangkok $190. So these are the best destinations if you want to keep it very cheap. But of course you can make use of this opportunity and visit also other places like, for example, Sanya in China with $169. But keep in mind, for some destinations like Sanya, you will need a visa and therefore you will have additional costs and you have to go to the embassy to apply for the visa and so on. But you see that there are a lot of places that you can visit very cheaply. Siem Reap, the cheapest price is $165, but this was only very specific combination. Usually the price is $203. Let's cover some more information about the flights. I suggest you to use Google Flights to find the perfect return flight combination. And you will have to pay for the approval letter that you have to get online. I use Cheap Vietnam Visa, it's only $21. You have to print it out, and then at the border you will pay a $25 stamp fee. The cheapest return flight is $100 to Kuala Lumpur, and the total costs will be then for the approval letter, stamp fee, and the flight $146. The pros and cons for the flights is, the pros, you are only 3 hours in the plane for Kuala Lumpur, for Bangkok. If you fly to Sanya, you are only 2 hours in the plane, and that's for most people probably more comfortable than 10 hours in the van. You can visit another destination, so you don't need to use it as a classical visa run, but you can visit whole Southeast Asia that way. And you don't need a visa for many countries. For Laos, you will need a visa on arrival, but for Thailand, Kuala Lumpur, and so on, you don't need a visa, and that's very comfortable. And yes, you can get the approval letter online, so you don't need to contact an agent in Da Nang. The cons are that you have to book a flight, so it's a little bit annoying to find the best flight and to put in all your information online, to print out the ticket and such things. And I really don't like airports. It's a cumbersome process there with the check-in, security checks, and so on. If you want to make a classical visa run and come back on the same day, probably it will be difficult and expensive to find the best combination there. So the flights version is best if you take a holiday for 1 or 2 weeks or longer in another country. And the third solution is the classical visa extension. And you might be wondering, how is it possible? Because, for example, Da Nang Expat says from May 2016 we stopped renewing tourist visa because of the Vietnamese law. And online everybody says that it's no longer possible to extend your visa. So how can you extend it? I spoke with Visa Da Nang, the link, of course, in the video description, and they told me they can actually extend your visa, but there are some conditions. If you have a 3-month visa, it can be extended by 1 month for $70, and if you have a 1-month visa, they extend it by additional 2 months for $120. But it's only possible for these prices if your port of arrival was Ho Chi Minh City. If you arrived at another place, it will be more difficult and more expensive, and or even impossible or very, very expensive. It means if you arrived in Da Nang and if you want to extend your visa in Da Nang, it will be very difficult. So this solution is only advised if you arrived in Ho Chi Minh City. The pros and cons of the extension is that you can stay in Da Nang, you don't need to travel to another place, and you don't need the approval letter. So there's an overall no traveling time and no wasting of time in a van or in a plane. The disadvantage is that it's probably only for 2 weeks. I extended my visa already in 2015 by 3 months, but I only received 2.5 months. Because the extension doesn't start when your old visa expires, it starts with the date when they receive your passport. And usually it's advised that you apply for the extension 2 weeks ahead before your visa expires, and that way you lose 2 weeks. And yeah, with a 1-month extension you will get only 2 weeks, and that's very short and of course very expensive. And as I said, it's very difficult and expensive if your port of arrival wasn't Ho Chi Minh City. And the situation and the prices change very often, so ask Da Nang Visa what the current situation is. And this is something that you have to keep in mind in general, that all regulations and prices change often. The informations provided in this video are valid for July 2016, but the older the video gets, the more I suggest you to do your own research, check in the video description if there are some updates, and if you know anything that is outdated, please leave a video comment and eventually I might renew this video if there is new information available.
Now you know everything you need to know to do a cheap and successful visa run from Da Nang. If you find this video useful, please click on like and subscribe to get more videos like this one. I hope you'll see us in the next video. Bye!